Somewhere between your front porch and the end of your street, your brain may be suffering in silence, and you wouldn't even know it. It happens to millions of older adults every single morning. They think they're doing the healthiest thing possible, going for a walk. But what if I told you that one common walking mistake, made in the first hour of your day, could silently trigger a stroke? I'm Dr. Thomas, neurologist and stroke prevention specialist, and what I'm about to show you may change how you think about your morning routine forever. Because the truth is, your brain isn't fully ready to move the moment you are. The shift from sleep to activity is a vulnerable window, especially for adults over 60. And if you go for a walk without following the right steps first, your brain's delicate blood supply can be thrown into chaos. This is when tiny blood clots form. This is when mini strokes happen, and this is when lives change in an instant. So today, I'm going to show you the 6 critical mistakes that turn a healthy walk into a hidden danger, and how to fix them starting tomorrow morning. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. Mistake number 1. Walking too soon after waking. It's early morning, the sun is barely up, you open your eyes, sit up in bed, and just like every day, you grab your shoes, head out the door, and start walking your usual route around the block. It feels like a healthy habit, a productive start to your day. But what if I told you this routine, done in the first 10 to 15 minutes after waking, is putting your brain at serious risk? I'm Dr. Elaine Foster, neurologist and stroke specialist, and this is something I've seen again and again in my older patients. Smart, health-conscious people unknowingly putting themselves in harm's way. Here's the problem. When you wake up, your body is in a fragile transitional state. Your blood pressure is low, your blood is thicker from overnight dehydration, and your heart hasn't yet adjusted to the demands of upright movement. And then, bam, you suddenly go from lying flat to walking briskly, pushing your cardiovascular system into a state of shock. For a younger person, the body can compensate. But for someone over 60, especially with stiffened arteries or underlying vascular disease, this abrupt activity can overwhelm the brain's oxygen supply. What's even more dangerous is what happens next. The sudden movement increases adrenaline and blood pressure. Combined with thick blood and tight arteries, this creates the perfect storm. It forms blood clots that may lodge in tiny vessels of the brain. You might not feel anything at first, or you might chalk it up to just getting older. A little dizziness, blurred vision, a moment of imbalance. But I'm here to tell you, those small symptoms can be the start of something far more serious. I'll never forget Harold, a 74-year-old retired mechanic. He had walked every morning for years, never missed a day. But one Tuesday, he collapsed on his driveway before reaching the mailbox. A clot had traveled to his brain. He survived, but now lives with partial paralysis on his right side. And all because he didn't know that walking too soon after waking was triggering a silent cardiovascular stress event every single morning. What should you do instead? Wait at least 30-45 minutes after waking before walking. Give your body time to recalibrate. Drink water, breathe deeply, stretch your arms and legs in bed. Think of it as warming up the engine. Your brain needs it. Because the truth is, walking too early isn't the only silent danger hidden in your routine. In fact, the next mistake is one most people make before they even get to the front door, and it begins with what you don't drink. If you're still watching and finding these insights helpful, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're with me. Now let's move on to point number 2. Mistake number 2, walking without hydration. There's a dangerous assumption I see far too often in older adults: the belief that if you don't feel thirsty, you must be hydrated. But here's the truth: by the time you feel thirst, especially as you age, you're already dehydrated. And for seniors, walking in that state doesn't just put strain on your body, it puts your brain in serious jeopardy. Let me explain what happens while you sleep. For 7 to 8 hours, your body loses moisture through breathing and perspiration. You don't eat. You don't drink. Your blood slowly thickens, becoming more viscous. For a healthy young adult, the body compensates. But for someone in their 60s, 70s, or 80s, with narrowed arteries or medications that reduce fluid levels, this change can be catastrophic. Now imagine you wake up, slip on your sneakers, and head outside for your usual walk without drinking a single drop of water. Your heart is now trying to pump thickened blood through stiff, aging vessels. In the early morning hours when stroke risk is already at its peak, the result? Blood flow to the brain slows. Oxygen delivery drops. Clots begin to form in those narrowed pathways. You don't feel it yet, but something dangerous is already happening inside your body. That's exactly what happened to Myra, a 69-year-old widow who came into my clinic complaining of sudden headaches after her walks. She told me proudly, "I go for a walk before breakfast every day. No food, no water, just me and the road." But when we ran tests, we found early signs of transient ischemic attacks, mini strokes caused by tiny clots blocking brief oxygen flow to parts of her brain. She never suspected that her healthy routine was actually the cause. I urged Myra to start every morning with at least 8 ounces of room temperature water before doing anything else. We even added a pinch of sea salt to help her absorb it better, given her low sodium diet and diuretic medication. Within 2 weeks, her headaches were gone. Her energy improved. Most importantly, her brain scans no longer showed signs of new microvascular events. This is not just about feeling better. It's about protecting your independence, your ability to think clearly, and even your life. Something as simple as a glass of water can mean the difference between a peaceful morning walk and a medical emergency you never saw coming. But water isn't the only hidden danger in your routine. In fact, the next mistake comes in a warm mug that millions of seniors rely on each morning, and it's doing far more harm than good if you're not careful. Mistake number 3: walking after caffeine, but before eating. It's a familiar scene in many American homes. The morning sun is rising, and the first thing you reach for is a hot cup of coffee. That familiar warmth, that sense of energy, it feels like the perfect start to your day. But if you're over 60 and drinking coffee before eating and heading out for a walk, you may be setting off a dangerous chain reaction inside your body, one that can quietly raise your risk of stroke without a single warning. Caffeine, especially on an empty stomach, doesn't just wake you up, it shocks your system. It triggers a sharp spike in adrenaline, constricts blood vessels, and causes your heart to race. For a young, healthy person, this is manageable. But for an aging body, particularly one already battling hypertension or atrial fibrillation, that surge can be disastrous. It places enormous stress on the cardiovascular system at the exact moment your body is still adjusting from sleep. Combined with physical activity, this is a perfect recipe for irregular heartbeat, sudden blood pressure swings, and yes, the formation of blood clots in narrowed arteries. I'll never forget my patient George, an active 76-year-old veteran who had always been proud of his morning discipline. He would wake at 6 o'clock a.m., brew 2 strong cups of black coffee, skip breakfast, and start his walk before 7 o'clock. At first, he just felt lightheaded on some days. Then came the chest flutters. Finally, he ended up in the emergency room with slurred speech and a weak left arm. George had suffered a transient ischemic attack, a mini stroke that could have been avoided. The caffeine had intensified his blood pressure surge and disrupted his heart rhythm, which sent a clot racing to his brain. When we reviewed his routine, I asked him to make just one change: eat a small snack before coffee and before walking. A handful of almonds, half a banana, nothing big, just enough to stabilize his system. Within 2 weeks, the heart palpitations were gone, and George told me, "I finally feel calm when I start my walk. No more jitters, no more fear." This isn't about giving up coffee. It's about respecting your body's needs as it ages. Your brain doesn't need caffeine first, it needs fuel, hydration, and stability. But even if you time your coffee and food right, there's something else just as threatening. And it's waiting for you the moment you step outside. It's not what you drink, but what's in the air. And it could be quietly stealing oxygen from your brain every single morning. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're here. Now let's keep going with point number 4. Mistake number 4, walking in cold air without warming up. It's easy to romanticize a cool, crisp morning walk. You open the door and breathe in that sharp, cold air, fresh, invigorating, even nostalgic. But beneath that peaceful image lies an invisible threat, especially for older adults. If you're over 60, walking in cold air without warming up properly may not just be uncomfortable. It could be life-threatening. Here's what you need to understand. When cold air hits your body, your blood vessels constrict, especially in your hands, feet, and most critically, your arteries. This natural response, called vasoconstriction, raises your blood pressure and increases resistance inside already narrowed vessels. For aging adults with less elastic arteries, this added strain can significantly reduce oxygen flow to the brain. That constriction doesn't just make your fingers numb, it can also cause sudden surges in blood pressure, irregular heartbeats, or even trigger the formation of blood clots in the brain's microvessels. One of my patients, Lorraine, a 71-year-old former librarian from Wisconsin, came into my clinic last winter complaining of pounding headaches and dizziness, only in the mornings, right after her walk. She had always been active and believed her morning stroll through the cold was just a bit of toughening up. But her blood pressure readings told a different story: 160/95 within 10 minutes of being outside. And on her brain scan, we saw evidence of a small ischemic lesion. A clot had briefly blocked a tiny artery. It didn't leave lasting damage, but it could have been much worse. We changed her routine immediately. I asked her to warm up indoors for 10 minutes, gentle stretches, arm rolls, stepping in place, before stepping outside. I also advised her to wear a light scarf over her nose and mouth to help warm the air she was breathing, reducing the shock to her cardiovascular system. A few small changes, but the results were dramatic. No more headaches, no more dizziness, and her morning blood pressure dropped by 25 points. Lorraine's story isn't rare. Many seniors brush off these warning signs because they think it's just part of getting older. But your body is trying to tell you something, and cold air is not harmless when your circulation is already compromised. So before you step into that brisk morning chill, ask yourself, is your brain ready for it? And more importantly, is your heart? Because if you think cold air is the worst danger out there, wait until you hear about the final mistake, when walking alone can turn deadly, and the only warning signs may vanish before anyone even sees them. Mistake number 5. Walking alone after mini-stroke symptoms. There is a kind of silence that frightens me more than anything else in my work as a neurologist, and that is the silence of a warning sign ignored. For many seniors, the subtle symptoms of a mini-stroke or transient ischemic attack, t.i.a., show up early in the morning. They disappear quickly. No pain, no drama, just a few seconds of slurred speech, a moment of numbness in one hand, a strange fog in the brain. And because they vanish so quickly, most people brush them off. They go on with their day. They lace up their walking shoes and step outside, alone. But when you walk alone after experiencing mini stroke symptoms, you're gambling with your life. That's exactly what happened to my patient, Carl. He was 68, a retired postman from Ohio. Healthy, active, never smoked. But for a few mornings, he had been fumbling his words and feeling tingling in his right arm, only for a minute or two. He chalked it up to sleepiness or maybe just getting old. Then one morning, he set off on his usual morning walk. Less than 200 yards from his front porch, Carl collapsed on the sidewalk. No one was with him. By the time a neighbor saw him and called 911, Carl had suffered a major stroke. He survived, but lost full function in his speech and right hand. I later reviewed his medical history and brain scans. The signs had been there. Tiny blood clots had already begun forming and blocking brief bursts of oxygen to the brain days earlier. But he didn't know. He didn't feel sick. That's what makes TIA so dangerous. They're not painful. They're quiet rehearsals for a full-blown stroke. If you've had any of these symptoms even once, you should never walk alone, especially in the morning when stroke risk is highest. I tell all my patients, bring your phone, tell someone where you're going, or better yet, walk with a partner. Your brain deserves a backup plan. Because when it comes to stroke, time is brain. Every minute counts. And if no one is there to notice the symptoms, to call for help, you may lose precious time and possibly your independence. This may be the most frightening mistake of all, but the good news is you can take back control. So now that you've heard the 5 biggest dangers, the question is, what should a safe, stroke-proof morning walk actually look like? Let me show you exactly what I tell every one of my patients to do, step by step. Mistake number 6, the stroke-safe morning walk checklist. After seeing so many patients suffer from preventable strokes, I realized something deeply unsettling. Most seniors think they're doing everything right in the morning, when in fact, they're unknowingly setting the stage for disaster. That's why I created a simple but powerful tool, what I now call the Stroke Safe Morning Walk Checklist. It's not just a list of tips, it's a safeguard, a daily defense plan for your most vital organ, your brain. This checklist was born from tragedy, but also from hope. One patient who changed everything for me was Helen, a 73-year-old retired piano teacher from North Carolina. She came to my clinic after a series of brief, odd episodes, slight facial drooping, a weak right hand, short moments of word confusion. Each episode lasted less than 5 minutes. Her husband thought maybe she was just tired or anxious. But I saw the red flags immediately. TIAs caused by tiny clots cutting off blood flow to the brain. It was only a matter of time before a full stroke hit. Helen had been doing what many consider a healthy morning routine. Wake early, skip breakfast, down a cup of coffee, and head straight out into the chilly morning air, alone. No warm-up, no hydration, and no one aware of her subtle warning signs. Her intentions were good, but her execution was dangerous. It formed blood clots. It starved her brain of oxygen, and it nearly cost her everything. I sat with Helen and her husband and walked them through this checklist. We revised her routine step by step. She drinks 8 oz a year of water first with a pinch of salt. She eats half a banana or a boiled egg before her coffee. She delays walking until 30-45 minutes after waking. She warms up inside and checks the temperature outside. She carries a phone and always walks with her sister now. And most importantly, she logs any strange symptoms, even small ones, and lets me know right away. It's been 8 months since her last TIA. Her scans are stable. Her confidence is back. And every morning she tells me she reads the checklist on a small card by her front door. It reminds her, protect your morning, protect your brain. If you're over 60, don't rely on guesswork. Routines matter. And following this checklist could be the single most important thing you do for your future independence. But even a perfect checklist won't matter unless you take the next step, the one most seniors forget. Because the greatest risk isn't what's in your body, it's what you ignore in your mind. Let's talk about that in the closing truth. I want every older adult in America to hear. Your morning routine is either saving or silently sabotaging your brain. Every morning, you make dozens of small decisions: when to get up, when to walk, whether to drink water or coffee, whether to ignore a strange feeling in your hand or a flicker of confusion in your speech. And while these moments may feel routine, they are never neutral. After the age of 60, your morning habits either protect your brain or quietly push it closer to danger. I've seen it too many times. Strong, independent people, veterans, teachers, mothers, fathers, who lose their ability to speak, walk, or live on their own, not because of one massive health event, but because of a series of small, overlooked warnings. It doesn't happen all at once. It builds. It creeps in through tiny clots, stiff vessels, and silent surges in blood pressure. But here's the hope: you have more control than you think. A few changes made today, repeated tomorrow, can strengthen your brain, sharpen your memory, and preserve your independence. You are not powerless. Your brain is still listening, it's still healing, but it needs your help. So ask yourself, is your morning protecting you, or is it setting you up for harm? Because how you spend the first hour of your day may determine the quality of the rest of your life. Choose wisely, start gently, walk safely, and never ignore what your brain is trying to tell you. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.